The drawings you're about to hear about were all created by children. At first glance, they may seem harmless and completely innocent. But once you learn the stories behind them, they become far more unsettling than they appear. The first drawing in this story was made by a 6-year-old boy. There is nothing obviously disturbing about it. It looks like a simple picture of a child playing in front of his house. There are small details scattered throughout the scene. His father is outside raking leaves. His mother is visible through a window. A couple of cars are driving down the street. Everything about it seems normal, like a typical drawing you would expect from a young child. The boy who drew the picture is described by his parents as extremely well-behaved and very quiet. For the sake of privacy, I will call him Jake. According to his teachers, Jake is polite and calm in class. He does not cause trouble. He simply keeps to himself. He is not shy in a fearful way, just quiet and reserved. Jake loves to draw. He spends hours creating pictures and even making his own little storybooks. He has a 2-year-old sibling who often appears in his drawings as well. His mother says that most of his free time is spent watching Cartoon Network or YouTube, or sitting quietly with crayons and paper in front of him. When Jake's parents first saw the original drawing of him outside the house, they did not think much of it. It seemed sweet and ordinary. There was no reason to be concerned. But that changed when they found a more recent drawing that looked almost identical to the first one. In the second picture, Jake is again standing outside in front of the house. However, there is one detail that stood out. Parked on the street is the same car that appeared in the earlier drawing. It looks identical, and the same person appears to be sitting inside. This time, Jake is facing the car and waving at it. His parents are not visible anywhere in this picture, which immediately caught their attention. Curious and slightly uneasy, they asked Jake about the car and the person inside. Jake explained calmly that he had seen the car parked outside before. He said there was a man sitting inside who would smile and wave at him whenever they made eye contact. Jake spoke about it as if it were completely normal. The next day, his parents took him outside and asked him to point out the car. It was not there. In fact, it did not appear for several days. Then one afternoon, while Jake was playing outside, he suddenly ran back into the house and told his parents that the car had returned and the man was inside again. They rushed outside immediately. Just as they stepped onto the front lawn, they saw an old silver Buick speeding down the street away from their house. Jake confirmed that it was the same car he had drawn. The vehicle did not belong to any of the neighbors. That much they were sure of. Jake's parents went door to door along the block, asking if anyone had noticed a silver Buick sitting on the street. Every neighbor said they had not seen it, but promised to keep an eye out. For the next few days, Jake was not allowed to play outside unless one of his parents was there with him. When the car did not return for a while, his parents slowly began to relax. Eventually, Jake was allowed to play outside again on his own, but that sense of normalcy did not last long. One afternoon, Jake came running inside looking frightened. He told his parents that the man in the car was back and had tried to get him to come closer. Without hesitation, Jake's father bolted out the front door. By the time he reached the street, the silver Buick was already near the end of the block. He jumped into his own car and attempted to follow it, but the vehicle disappeared before he could catch up. After that incident, Jake was no longer allowed outside alone at all. Days passed with no sign of the car. Then one night, Jake's father stepped outside to take the trash to the curb and froze in place. Parked across the street was the same silver Buick. He quietly pulled out his phone and began recording, hoping to capture the license plate. He tried to move closer without drawing attention to himself, but the driver must have noticed him. The car's engine started, and it quickly pulled away. Jake's father attempted to follow once more, but again he could not get close enough to read the plate number. That was the last time the car was ever seen. It was clear that the vehicle had been parked outside their home multiple times, even late at night. According to Jake, the man inside would always smile and wave whenever he saw him. The final time Jake saw the car during the day, the man had motioned for him to come over and even called out to him. Thankfully, Jake had the sense to go inside and tell his parents instead of approaching the car. It remains unclear why the vehicle would be parked outside at night, especially when it was unlikely that Jake would be outside alone after dark. Jake's parents brought the video footage to the police. Unfortunately, without a clear license plate number, there was little that could be done. Jake's father once again went door to door, asking neighbors if any security cameras had captured the car's plate. No one had usable footage. The drawing you are about to hear about was created by a 7-year-old boy. The image itself is deeply unsettling, but the story behind it is what truly makes it shocking. The boy's father, Jeremy, was the one who submitted both the story and the picture. Jeremy has 3 sons. His mother, Claire, often stays overnight at their house so she can spend time with her grandchildren. According to Jeremy, his mother has always had a strict personality. That strictness extends to her grandkids as well. He explains that she was raised in a very disciplined household, and that is simply how she learned to parent. Out of the 3 boys, his 7-year-old son Tom has always been considered the troublemaker. He is the one who pushes boundaries the most and frequently acts out toward both his parents and his grandmother. Because of this, Claire often ends up scolding him. One afternoon, while Jeremy and his wife were out of the house, and Claire was babysitting, an incident occurred. Tom became angry when his younger brother took the last ice cream bar from the freezer. In response, Tom hit him hard enough to make him cry. Jeremy admits that this type of aggressive behavior is not unusual for Tom. He has a history of being physically violent toward his siblings. When Claire saw what had happened, she reacted by smacking Tom and sending him to his room for the rest of the day. Later, she told Jeremy that Tom had thrown a tantrum in his bedroom. She said he was screaming, tossing objects at the walls, and throwing things across the floor in anger. Eventually, the noise stopped. When Tom attempted to come out of his room before being allowed, Claire had to physically intervene again to make him listen and return inside. It was most likely during this period of isolation that Tom created the drawing in question. When Jeremy and his wife returned home, Claire immediately began venting to them about Tom's behavior. She was upset and visibly shaken. After hearing everything, Jeremy and his wife marched to Tom's bedroom, prepared to discipline him further. When they opened the door, what they saw caught them off guard. Tom was sitting on the floor with a wide smile on his face, looking up at them calmly. Scattered around him were crayons, colored pencils, and his Crayola art backpack. Several drawings were crumpled on the floor nearby. Among the mess, one picture stood out. Tom picked it up and handed it directly to his parents. The drawing depicted a horrifying scene. It appeared to show Tom sawing off his grandmother's head while she hung in front of him. Even more disturbing, both Tom and his parents were drawn with large smiles on their faces as the act was taking place. As if there were any confusion about who the figures represented, Tom had clearly labeled himself, his grandmother, and his parents in the picture. Jeremy and his wife were deeply disturbed by what they were looking at. The image suggested that something might be seriously wrong with their son. Jeremy grounded Tom immediately after discovering the drawing. However, they chose not to show it to Claire. They felt that nothing positive could come from showing her such a violent image created by her own grandson. Unfortunately, the situation did not stop there. The following morning, when Tom was allowed out of his room to eat breakfast, he sat at the kitchen table across from his grandmother and told her that he hated her and was going to kill her. Claire reacted with shock rather than anger. Jeremy once again sent Tom back to his room. He later described the way Tom delivered the threat. He said Tom had a hateful smile on his face, almost as though he enjoyed saying the words out loud. That same day, Claire packed up and went home. Since Jeremy first shared this story, she has not returned to stay at the house. Jeremy admits that Tom's behavior has always leaned toward the violent and concerning side, especially for a child his age. However, the drawing and the direct threat toward his grandmother were enough to convince both parents that professional help was necessary. They decided to begin taking Tom to therapy. During the first few sessions, Tom refused to speak at all. Over time, he began to open up, particularly when his parents stepped out of the room. According to the therapist, Tom has talked about wanting to hurt his brothers over small disagreements. He has also expressed strong hatred toward his grandmother and even his second-grade teacher. At this point, Jeremy and his wife feel that all they can do is move forward one day at a time, hoping that therapy will help their son confront and manage the anger that seems to be building inside him. This final case is a little different from the others because the child involved is older, and several of the drawings were created digitally on a computer. The boy responsible for these images was 13 years old at the time. The pictures were discovered and later submitted by his older brother, Cody. The younger brother's real name appears in some of the screenshots, but it will be left out here, and he will be referred to as John. Cody describes John as a loner who often gets teased by classmates. Although Cody first found the drawings about a year ago, he only recently decided to share them. The two brothers are now both in high school. Cody is a senior, while John is a freshman. They even share the same gym period, which gives Cody a first-hand look at how his younger brother is treated. Whenever he is close enough to hear, he notices other students making small comments or lightly picking on John during class. Cody says he has tried many times to help John come out of his shell, but he has come to accept that they are simply very different people. After school, John usually goes straight home and spends the rest of the day playing computer games. Homework and socializing rarely seem to interest him. His weekends follow the same routine. While their parents and Cody worry about his habits, they are unsure how to properly reach him. Teachers have also expressed concern. John consistently puts in very little effort and receives poor grades. Some teachers have even asked whether everything is okay at home because of how quiet and withdrawn he is in class. One day, while John was out somewhere with their mother, Cody's curiosity got the better of him. He decided to look through John's school notebook to see if he was taking notes in class. Instead of regular notes, he found page after page filled with strange doodles and drawings. If there were any notes written down, they were often covered by sketches of stick figures fighting each other or shooting arrows and guns. There were also other unusual drawings scattered throughout the notebook, most of them violent in nature. Cody photographed several of them. Growing even more curious about what John did on his laptop all day, Cody decided to access it. After figuring out his brother's password without his knowledge, he logged in. The desktop was cluttered with game icons and folders. The first place Cody checked was the Pictures folder. Inside, he found several folders filled with odd cartoons created in MC Paint. John had apparently started a YouTube channel where he posted simple animated videos made from these drawings. One video in particular stood out as the most disturbing. It began with an image of a school building, then transitioned to the inside of a classroom that appeared to resemble John's own. In the story of the cartoon, John's character had been absent from school. When the teacher asks the class where he has been, John suddenly enters the room holding a shotgun and wearing a combat helmet. From there, the character threatens to kill his classmates, and then the teacher if they fail to answer his questions correctly. The name Mr. Reynolds appears in one of the drawings, which is actually the name of one of John's real teachers. This detail made it clear that the video was based on his actual school environment. Although the figures are simple stick drawings, the content is graphic enough that the rest of the images are not being shown. In the storyline, John's character ends up shooting everyone in the classroom. In the final frame of the animation, he smiles and says, "On to the next classroom." The video feels like a troubling glimpse into what might be going on inside his mind, and possibly inside the minds of other students who feel isolated or bullied. Cody chose not to immediately tell his parents about what he found. Instead, he confronted John directly. Most likely out of embarrassment, John deleted his YouTube channel and became furious with Cody. However, he did not tell their parents that Cody had accessed his laptop, likely because he knew his brother had seen concerning material. Cody sat down with John and asked him seriously whether he had ever thought about carrying out anything like what he portrayed in his video. John insisted that he had not. He claimed it was only made for YouTube views. A year has passed since that discovery. Cody says he continues trying to support his younger brother, who still behaves differently from most of his peers. He has considered telling their parents about what he saw on the laptop. In a situation like this, informing responsible adults would likely be the safest choice. Given that John already faces teasing at school and tends to isolate himself, the violent images he created could potentially reflect thoughts or fantasies that should not be ignored.